My name is aaron.ganek. Today I will investigate the future of cloud computing with regards to consumers and the casual user. I will uncover the underlying objectives the cloud strives to alleviate and illustrate how the current setup fails to accomplish these tasks. I will then propose how we can solve these issues in detail. Let's jump right in. More users will connect to the internet via mobile devices than desktop PCs within 5 years. What does this mean? Instead of accessing your data from one device, from one desktop computer or laptop, you are going to access that same data from multiple devices, many access points per user. So hardware is diverging. That means when you write a Word document on your desktop, you want to put it on each and every one of your devices. But if we go ahead and do that, we are now stuck with 5 different versions of the same file. So if I update something on my iPhone, it's not going to update on my desktop computer. So that's where the theory of the cloud comes in. If instead we take that Word document and upload it to the cloud, now each device can point and read and edit the same file sitting on the cloud. So, why is the current cloud inadequate? Why does it not solve this problem? Well, let's start out with Google Docs. I can log on to my Google Docs account in Safari or Firefox, and I can write a Word document. That document sits on the cloud, and it actually ends up sitting on Google Docs server. This works out very well because I can connect with all my devices to that same file. But Microsoft has its own cloud. And the issue is the clouds don't talk to each other. Instead, the user is forced to form a common link between the two. So to start, if you want to move a document from Google Docs to Microsoft, you have to manually download that document to your device and back up to the Microsoft cloud. So that brings us to the first major shortfall of the current system. It's tedious to the user. Let me go ahead and give you another example and really explain how tedious this could be. Flickr is a great place to store photos, but I sometimes want to edit my photos on Photoshop.com. So I will need to go and pull down my photos from Flickr, re-upload it to Photoshop.com, edit my files, re-download it to the device, and back up to Flickr. Now, again, this is very non-efficient and tedious to the user. But it also brings up a second problem, and that's versioning control. Right now, I have to go back and manually delete the original file so I don't have 2 copies of the same file sitting on the cloud. So again, the second major shortfall is version control. The last thing I want to talk about is a lack of universal search. If you want to search all of your clouds, all of your different web apps, you have to manually search each and every one of those services. Again, not efficient and tedious. The last major shortfall is that there is no universal search. So, the overall problem with the way the system is set up today is that the user is forced to form the common link between multiple different clouds. Let me propose an optimum design, but then I will explain why this is unlikely to actually happen. Currently, I've explained that our devices can connect to multiple different clouds and that each cloud has its own storage space. What I propose is getting rid of the private storage spaces that we have now and creating a unified storage space per user. That creates a private server space. In other words, when I get onto Flickr, I want to enter a username and password that will allow Flickr to access my own private server, whether it be controlled by Google or a private server in my house. So now I will still connect to each web service like I did before, but on the back end it will connect to my private server. What this does, it allows one file to be controlled by multiple services. So when I edit my photo in Photoshop, it updates on both Flickr and on Photoshop at the same time. This, unfortunately, will not happen, and let me explain why. Google, Microsoft, and all of these other companies love walled gardens. They want to keep their users, and they are unlikely to cooperate with their competitors. Number two, before, companies like Google were just controlling the connection between their cloud and their private storage. If they have to control the connection between the cloud and everybody's private storage, it gets far more complicated and more risky for Google. So where are we actually heading? And this is where I think it gets interesting. I think we need more than just the clouds. I think we need an entire ecosystem. Today we have what I will call a baby ecosystem. But Google and all the other ecosystems need to take multiple steps to improve this infrastructure. And let me explain how this can happen. Right now, let's take a look at Google Docs. In the storage locker, it stores my documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. But it's important to note that this is only my Google Docs files. I question why it's only Google Docs. I think you want to add more files in there that relate to all of the other Google ecosystem files. What does this do? All of a sudden we have this single universal locker. You get universal search, and programs and applications can access each other's data. Let me give you an example. YouTube has thumbnails for their videos when you search for them. Why can't you pull an image from your Picasa account to use as a thumbnail for that video? This would allow you to interuse data between applications. It would be similar to when you, on your desktop computer now, if you right-click, you can open your document with any program you would like. So right now, the Google ecosystem contains Google apps, and they should all be stored in a single storage locker. But I think let's not stop there. Let's create an app store that can be built on top of this Google ecosystem and built into this Google ecosystem. So instead, let's go ahead and throw game information and Skype information and Photoshop information all into this single storage locker. Again, cross-using application data could be extremely valuable. Just as another example, games. If you were to be able to use games to create unified leaderboards, and who knows what else developers are going to be able to create, this is very, very powerful. So currently, we have to manage a number, hundreds of thousands of different web apps. I propose that Google builds an API or a platform that many other web apps can sit on top of to create what I'll call a mega cloud. And that cloud will connect to a single personal storage locker. Now, I do want to make it clear that I think Google and Facebook and a couple of other players will likely create this platform. But it will be a lot easier to manage the 5 to 10 platforms that will arise than it will be to manage the 100,000 web apps that exist today. So, do users want this? Does Google or any other platform maker want it? And do third-party developers want this? Well, I've already explained, I think it's obviously less tedious, you don't have to deal with versioning controls, and it creates a universal search. So all of the problems that were originally in the current setup are gone. So users should benefit significantly. Google will also benefit. Today, when you go to Photoshop.com, this is what you'll see. I want to go ahead and change it into the Google ecosystem, which, in general might mean just adding this top bar, and that adds quick access to some of the other Google apps. But what it really does is it traps people into the Google ecosystem even more. More opportunities for advertising and more information about the user for more targeted advertising. Google already spends lots and lots of money creating a number of web apps, whether it's from Google Books to Blogger to Gmail, etc. These are things that they may not make a dime off of directly, but are all very valuable to Google's business strategy. The last part, and the easiest part for me to explain, is what's in it for third-party developers. Why do they want to build something on top of the Google platform? I think this is easy. They have access to Google's large user base. This is very, very valuable. So incentives exist for users to access this, incentives exist for Google, and incentives exist for developers. This is why I think we need to move towards an entire ecosystem. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. My contact information is in the bottom left. I encourage you to contact me, and I would love to have a conversation what you think about my strategy and how this can be extended further. Thank you much.